evening, as we ask the question, is there any room for any cordiality between India and Pakistan at a time when terror rules the roost along the line of control and the international border between India and Pakistan? And on a day, India has found photographs of remains of Pakistani weapons on terrorists who've been caught in Nawaz sector, all of them coming from the Pakistan army. Is there any room for talks at this moment, even as peaceniks continue to demand that there should be some opportunity for Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Narendra Modi to talk in Astana? We ask the question, is there any space for Dostana in Astana? And joining me this evening, Dr. Shambhit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Ratan Sharda, Founder, Member, Center for International Studies, RSN Singh, Defence Analyst, Dr. John Dayal, Human Affairs Analyst, Ghanshyam Tiwari, Leader of the Samajwadi Party, Dr. Sameer Kaul, Spokesperson of the National Conference, will join us in just a bit. Irfan Hafiz Lone, lawyer and activist, also with us. But my question is first to Dr. Sameer Kaul. Dr. Sameer Kaul, we've seen the National Conference change its position. Today, we'll show you visuals, we'll show you photographs of what has been seized from the terrorists in the Nawaz sector. It's not news to you, it's been seen before, but today what we are showing you is so stark. It's so stark because it is weapons that have been got from the Pakistan army that have been found on Indian terrorists. Those visuals in the middle of your television screens are visuals of those weapons that have been found in the Nawaz sector. Dr. Sameer Kaul, when Farooq Abdullah was part of the UPA government, after the violence along the border, he says, in the spirit of this a conversation with Pakistan cannot take place so long as dead bodies are continued to drop here in India. Has all that changed? Have dead bodies stopped to drop in Jammu and Kashmir? Have terrorists stopped from coming in? Why does the position of Mr. Farooq Abdullah change when he is in government and when he is on opposition?
I think part of what you say, Navika ji, makes sense, but the other half doesn't. There is no, what can you do with the Kashmiri leader who gets desperate by seeing his own fellow men and his constitutions drop dead like 9 pins all the time? What can you expect from him? But as a country which frames a foreign policy with its neighborhood, the overview has to be slightly different from what Farooq Abdullah may say or feel, and it is never like that. Both are not linked. One is an emotional outburst.
So you're saying that what Farooq Abdullah says is rhetoric.
Let me complete.
He's supposed to say this. He's supposed to say this just because it's rhetoric.
No, you are not even. You are now started to pronounce your own things and coming to your own conclusions. I never said that. I said this is the cry of a desperate, genuine Kashmiri leader who feels for the death of his countrymen and his constituents. What is wrong with that? What is something said in desperation the same as rhetoric? Why do you use these words loosely? Now, I don't want to combat you on that, but what I want to really tell you is that a country's foreign policy with its neighborhood, it has to be formed after an overview of the positives and the negatives and done very coolly. It is not formulated out of outbursts, emotional outbursts, but genuine emotional outbursts of its leaders. So that is one. The other thing that I want to tell you is what has changed. People have been dying ever since. You don't want a genuine Kashmiri leader to feel the pain of his countrymen, whether it be it in Poonch, Rajouri, Jammu, Ladakh. When they die, there are somebody's sons and daughters. Don't you want the leader to feel the pain of these people? Why should you be objecting to something like that? I find it a bit unnatural.
No, it's not unnatural, Dr. Sameer Kaul. May I show you the contradiction? The contradiction is that Dr. Farooq Abdullah makes the statement, the dialogue process cannot resume if such a situation of 5 of our soldiers dying continues. This was in 2013 when he was a union minister. But when he is in opposition, he uses the same opportunity to say there should be dialogue with Pakistan. How can we rule out dialogue with Pakistan? And you're talking about a desperate Kashmiri leader. Is he only desperate because people are dying? Or is he desperate to be in power? Is it just a rhetoric? And I reiterate my statement. Is it rhetoric because he wants power?
Let me assure you. Let me assure you, Navika, that Farooq Abdullah has had his full life with power and he has got enough of it. That's why he's golfing now. You must understand that he really doesn't care for it and doesn't crave for it. If you know him, you'll understand it. But that's the truth. The question is not that. Question is that you can lead from one thing to the other. I mean, GST, Modi ji, our Honorable Prime Minister, was against GST when he was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. But today when you take the statement,
let's not bring in GST.
Because he's realized that it is better.
You say he's been in power for so long, but the lust for power doesn't go away. He's just in April won another election for being a member of parliament. Dr. Sambit Patra, is that we are not assuming things. He's contested elections. He's contested elections.
He's won to assume things. I don't think you have a right.
I'm not assuming. I'm only.
As an anchor, I don't think you should be assuming.
And that, as
you must
as a journalist, it's my right to question, sir. I don't need to learn my rights of questioning from anybody, sir. I, as a journalist, am questioning his stance.
It's just a friendly suggestion.
I have the full right to question.
It's just a friendly suggestion from my side. It's just a friendly suggestion from my side.
Politicians and journalists are rarely on the same side, sir. So let's not talk about friendly suggestions. Friendly suggestions are that yes, Dr. Farooq Abdullah has been in power for too long. 35-40 years his family has ruled the state of Jammu and Kashmir. He's had a long stint as a central minister as well. Maybe it's time to hang up his boots rather than be part of the power struggle all the time. But most of another stint as a member of parliament.
Most of those years were good times. What you're forgetting is most of those were good times. Why is Kashmir in a situation that you're facing today?
Dr. Sambit Patra, do you agree, despite the Abdullah family being in power, you know, the situation, the alienation that they keep talking about the Kashmiri youth hasn't been solved despite their long stint in power for 40 years?
First, Navika, I extremely object to this word alienation. Whosoever uses and says that whatever the problem in Kashmir is because of alienation of the so-called youth of Kashmir, please let us throw this bunkum out of the windows, because it is not alienation. I've always maintained that if alienation was the cause, and that's the reason as to why the Kashmiri youth were throwing or pelting stones, then the Kashmiri pundits would have been throwing Mount Everest by the same measure. So it is not an issue of alienation. It is radical Islamization that is the main problem in Kashmir. Number one. Number two, my good friend Mr. Samir Kaul, who is also a surgeon. I'm also a surgeon. I respect a great deal of him. But today, in fact, it's a foot and mouth problem as far as Mr. Kaul is concerned, Dr. Kaul is concerned. Because look, he said that Mr. Farooq Abdullah has had a good stint in politics. He has enjoyed politics. So now he's golfing. Sorry, sir. Is he golfing today? Is he supposed to be golfing today? He has just been elected to the parliament of this country. Why should he be golfing? He should be working extremely hard for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. But rather, I believe he's golfing. He was golfing all these years. The stint, the good stint that you talk about. Because if he would not have been golfing all the years of his governance period, of his period that he was serving in Jammu and Kashmir as Chief Minister, etc., then probably today he would not be having those so-called emotional outbursts looking at the pain of Kashmiris, because probably he would have solved the problem of Kashmiris by now. Thirdly, you said that, well, yes, he had certain genuine emotional outbursts. Dr. Kaul, remember, only a few months ago, Mr. Farooq Abdullah had said in an emotional outburst, now whether it was genuine or not, you would answer me. He had said, "Ye POK kya tere baap ki hai?" And he was addressing India. He was saying, this POK kya teri baap ki hai, jo Pakistan tumko POK de dega. Was it genuine or was it a rhetoric? Because you said that whatever he speaks is not rhetoric, it's a genuine outburst. And secondly, just a second.
Patra,
and second, you say that people are dying. So let me just complete. Let me complete. I did not interfere. I'll just take 10 more seconds. And you said
please
people
go ahead.
are dying in Kashmir on the streets.
I won't interrupt.
Who is responsible for the death? Who is responsible for the death of people on the streets of Kashmir? It is the very Pakistan whom your boss wants to engage. It's the very Pakistan which is responsible for the stone pelting, which is responsible for terrorism, which is responsible for infiltration, which is responsible for militancy, which is giving rise to death and terror in the streets of Kashmir. So why, after knowing all this, Mr. Farooq Abdullah still wants to engage with the same Pakistan? This is the larger question.
No,
well, that's the larger question,
but Dr. Patra, very respectfully, 1 minute, very respectfully, Dr. Patra, it is not only my boss who wants to engage with Pakistan, it is your boss too. Otherwise, how can you explain the private meetings between Jindals and others who were trying, or even now, to try and set up personal relationships? Because history is dictated by personal relationships. Sorry, I'm just telling you the truth, Dr. Patra. So let's not talk about that.
Let me answer that, Dr. Kaur, since you have raised a very important issue. Let me tell you today, Dr. Patra,
it will be only Farooq Abdullah that you will have to finally approach to set Kashmir right, because nobody else can do it. You know why?
Because that's a huge challenge. That's a huge challenge that is being thrown out by Dr. Samir Paul.
It requires a lot of understanding.
It requires understanding the nuances of the Kashmir problem. Dr. Paul, this is a large and huge statement with implications. Do you mean to say that the Abdullahs have kept the Kashmir hostage, and we have to in fact plead with the Abdullahs if we want to free Kashmir? If we want to have any kind of semblance of peace in Kashmir, then we have to plead with the Abdullahs. Is Kashmir the fiefdom of Abdullahs? Is this what you want to suggest? Is this what you are hinting towards? This is absolutely wrong in democracy.
I'm saying they are nationalists. They are
POK क्या तुम्हारे बाप का है? Is this nationalist statement? Sorry, sir.
If required.
POK क्या तुम्हारे बाप का है?
Gentlemen,
not a nationalist statement, sir.
He is exasperated by the fact that you are not thinking about Gilgit, Baltistan, Skardu. What about those?
Well, this is not about Gilgit, Baltistan. This is, well, the question, let's not derail the debate. Let's not derail the debate, gentlemen. The question we are asking tonight, is, there is continuous infiltration from Pakistan. Huge explosives have been found with Pakistani army markings. Weapons have been found with Pakistani army markings on them in the Naugam sector. The question is, in such an atmosphere, can there be any cordiality? Can there be any cordiality when Prime Minister Narendra Modi comes face to face with Nawaz Sharif in Astana? And let me go across to Irfan Hafiz Loan. Irfan Hafiz Loan, is this the moment that you will talk about? You know, will you continue to push for talks with Pakistan at a time when there are army markings on explosives, on weapons that are being recovered from terrorists? Is this the time for both Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Nawaz Sharif to engage? Or will it be a snub that Narendra Modi will give Sharif?
Navika, I strongly believe that dialogue leads to resolution, and dialogue is the only way out to find settlement to disputes, issues, including the complex issue like Kashmir. At times, such dialogues prove fruitful. With your permission, I would like to quote few lines from the book, The Vajpayee Years. The idea of Delhi-Lahore bus, according to former Minister Jaswant Singh, came up when the Prime Ministers of India and Pakistan, Vajpayee and Nawaz Sharif, whom we referred as Mian Shah, met for lunch on the sidelines of United Nations General Assembly in New York on September 1998. This conveys that such dialogue can prove fruitful. Now see, Navika, Vajpayee went through Lahore, through Amritsar, through bus, and Pakistan's bus came through Kargil. But nevertheless, Vajpayee extended, hand of friendship to Pakistan and went to, saying that dost badle ja sakte, padosi nahi. Friends can be changed, not, neighbors. And,
but what have we achieved, Colonel Arison Singh? Colonel Saab, Irfan Hafiz's loan goes on about dialogue with Pakistan. What have we achieved? What have we achieved? What have we achieved since 2014? There was an invitation to Nawaz Sharif.
We are skeptical.
No, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, Irfan Hafiz's loan in 2014, Prime Minister Narendra Modi invited Nawaz Sharif for his swearing-in ceremony. What happened after that? There was an attack on the Indian mission in Herat, Afghanistan.
I do believe
in Ufa summit meeting between the two heads of states, what happened after that? Pakistan raised Kashmir issue in the United Nations. What happened after Modi's Pakistan visit in December 2015? Pathankot and Uri happened.
That's why we are skeptical. But what is the way out?
We are not skeptical. Every effort has been made. Colonel Arison Singh, what have talks ever yielded for India? Why should India and Pakistan engage? Forget talks, even in cordiality. Should the two sides again get cordial with each other when terrorists are being sent through, infiltration is on, our Jawans are being mutilated? Is this time for any cordiality between Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Narendra Modi?
Yes, to stop that, madam, dialogue is must. Dialogue is prerequisite to put end to bloodbath.
I will not speak. I will not speak. I will not speak. I had kept quiet all this while. Not every day. It can't be every day. Please allow me to have my say, and thereafter tell me 1 minute, 2 minutes, about whatever it is. I just
go ahead.
Nobody's
stopping you.
That
Go ahead.
Look, between 90 and 2000, the year 2000, things were very different. The Operation Enduring Freedom had not started, and all those jihadis released from the battlefields of Afghanistan, the military establishment of Pakistan still had some control over them. But after, say 2002 or 2003, they gradually started losing control. The situation today is, Navika, that the jihadi groups, they say, they have made it very clear to the Pakistan military establishment that we will take your calling as far as, your strategic, targets are concerned, like India and others and Kashmir. But we will not brook any interference as far as global jihad is concerned. Now, I will draw a parallel with Hurriyat and talking to Nawaz Sharif. I asked these interlocutors.
It is not related with jihad or Wahhabism.
1 minute.
It is a political issue.
No.
And it's to be resolved through dialogue. It's to be resolved through dialogue.
I asked them.
We should be positive. We should.
Navika, 1 minute.
Yes.
So I asked these interlocutors that if it is within your capacity, to change the Wahhabi discourse or global jihad in Kashmir, you talk to Hurriyat or anybody, by all means. Similarly, does Nawaz Sharif has the capacity to change the nature and content of global jihad in Pakistan? If you take the epicenter, say as Islamabad, and you draw radial lines, it goes across the world. But let me tell you, people of Baluchistan and Sindh have still resisted this brand of global jihad, emanating from Lahore. So under these circumstances, the military has itself become a jihadi organization. Those weapons with markings that are your possession is a testimony to the fact that this jihad will continue. Now, what is the solution? What is the
dangerous
talks will lead you nowhere. Talks will only make people feel that there is a structure in Pakistan. Absolutely, there is no structure in Pakistan. I can tell you, there is no structure in Pakistan. If you were to ask me what is the pecking order in Pakistan, it is jihadi groups at the top, followed by military and followed by the Prime Minister. Earlier, the pecking order was President, the military and the Prime Minister. So under these circumstances, by talking, you will only be giving a fillip to the cycle of proxy war, and that is why it doesn't stop. And you are not the only ones who are the victims. Afghanistan is a victim. Remember, President Ghani walked up to the GHQ against all protocols. The National Defense Intelligence of Afghanistan signed an agreement with the ISI, all of no avail. So wait for the time. Wait for the time. I don't know. I feel that the entire Islamic discourse is on a cusp. It will take time, but in the near future, there is no solution, and talks will lead you nowhere. Only you will be exposing your people to wrong diplomatic hopes, to wrong hopes, and they will continue.
What is the upshot?
Proxy
what is the outcome?
Meanwhile, what India should do is, India should concentrate on counter ideology, and that counter ideology has to be based on Indian Islam. It has to be based on Kashmiriyat. It cannot follow the philosophy of Lashkar-e-Toiba or Jaish-e-Mohammed, because something major is going to happen. I can see the churning process. I can see the churning process.
Well, the process has been going on.
एक भोपाल के एक शेर ने बोला है एक लम्हा तो मिले अमनो सकून का ए रब, जिंदगी आलमे इस्लाम हुई जाती है. ये आपके एक भोपाल ने शायर कहता है कि my world has begun to resemble the world of Islam. There is no tranquility, no peace in life. आप रमजान में आपने देखे हैं कितने अटैक्स हुए हैं? 2 in Baghdad, 2 in Iran, 2 in London, 1 in Manila, 2 in Kabul, और आप कह रहे हो कि ये विचारधारा और वे विचारधारा है. बचाओ अपने आप को.
Absolutely. Dr. John Dayal and Ghanshyam Tiwari both are raising their hands. Mr. Ratan Sharda, I'll come to you, but let me first get in Dr. John Dayal. Dr. John Dayal, there has to be...
Don't connect terror with Islam. Don't connect terror with Islam.
No, let's not go that route. The fact is,
मैं वही कह रहा हूं कि ये रमजान में जब ऐसी चीजें हो रही हैं तो आपको कहीं झांकना पड़ेगा कि गड़बड़ क्या हो रही है. इतनी सी बात है.
Dr. John Dayal is raising his hand. Dr. John Dayal, at a time when we are talking about Kulbhushan Jadhav, Irfan Hafiz loan, please calm down. Everybody has heard you. Irfan Hafiz loan. Now let others speak. Doctor, thank you very much. Dr. John Dayal. China and Pakistan have been waltzing together, whether it is the CPEC, whether it is the issue of OBOR, everywhere it's been China and Pakistan. Do you see at this moment India wanting to, or at least needing to, assert itself at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization by putting India's own concerns on terrorism on the table? Because it's Pakistan exported terror that's coming in from Pakistan to India through the terrorists, through the weapons that have been caught, which has Pakistan Army markings on them. Is this the moment that India should be talking to Pakistan, or is this the moment that India should be reading the Riot Act to the Chinese and telling them that they have to actually impress upon Pakistan to stop exporting terror to India?
I want to make 2 or 3 quick points, if allowed, uninterrupted. A, it is no crime to hope. Hope and talks have never made any widows. So let's go with that. Astana is not a meeting ground or a contending ground for theology, for fundamentalist Islam or Hinduism or any other things. Mr. Nawaz Sharif is there as the Prime Minister of a sovereign country. Mr. Modi is there as the Prime Minister of another sovereign country, neighbors. It is for two of them to decide whether they want to shake hands, not shake hands, to be cold to each other, to be warm, to send out a signal. It is their sovereign right. But one thing we need to understand, even if there's a full-fledged war, and there's not been a war since Kargil of that nature, even if there's a full-fledged war, the effort at peace must continue. Talks of a nature, we're not saying you go and embrace them and make a photo op, but talks, whether they're tracked to, whether they're secret talks, must continue, and I'm sure they are continuing. As regards your final question on China, I am sure India continues to assert with Beijing that it must control its gold ally Pakistan. I'm sure it does, as also I'm sure it has told the US, which has a deep interest in Pakistan and a deep interest in Saudi Arabia, that the US has a major role to play in controlling Pakistan. So these diplomatic moves continue.
Where is the room for hope, Dr. John Dayal?
No,
that's my question to you. Where is the room for hope between India and Pakistan through dialogue? You know the history. You know the history. Pathankot, Uri.
Since everybody is quoting shares and shairis, let me quote mine. वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी, चाहे कितना भी अंधकार हो. Howsoever dark the night, there shall be a morning. There shall be sunbreak. The sun will shine again.
For you, the morning is when there is dialogue between India and Pakistan.
No.
Why don't when you do your peace talks with Pakistan, why don't you impress upon Pakistan not to export terror? Why do you put pressure only on the Indian government? Ratan Sharda, should these peace talks only be putting pressure on the Indian government? Why don't they put the similar pressure on Pakistan? How come for Pakistan there are only chai parties and seminars that they are interested in? Ratan Sharda?
Two different things. No. They're two different things. The strong can take an initiative.
We know
the
of
weak,
the
the defeated
tea parties
so
that
when
our
India
people
does
had
that,
with FI, who was a member, the front of for the ISI. So we know what kind of tea parties our people have attended, knowing that he was promoting Pakistan interests all over the world, and our people happily attended or innocently attended those seminars. Now coming to this issue, to talk or not to talk, see, let us be very clear that foreign policy purely about cold-blooded interests of your own country, not somebody else. We are not in the foreign policy or the world affair to impress others. Nehru tried to impress somebody else in 48 war, went to UNO, we are still suffering from POK. If we had at that time been confident and not trying to score international marks, we would have been much better off if we had taken the whole POK with us. So this chance of having peace talks are only possible if the other side is reciprocating. You cannot have a gun held at your head and somebody from Pakistan saying talk to us. This is not the type of talk that you can have. Now coming to so many people talking otherwise, Mr. John Dayal, didn't disturb you. I am not downgrading you anyway, I am not insulting you. I am just saying what the peacenik kind of talks are there and why this weakness for international recognition. What does it give us? We went to international adjudication for Kutch, we lost land. We went to Kashmir, we lost land. Wherever you go, see every other country, by appealing to Pakistan US and China, they are not to support us. No country in the world supports another country on a weak wicket. If they feel they could do something to come from India, they will support us. They will not support out of altruistic notions. Did CPC stop when we said POK belongs to us? It did not. And today that is one of the biggest contentious issues that we face today. Now coming to this national conference issues, let me also tell you, the whole Abdullah family, its attitude changes which side of the fence it is sitting. Right from 1930, major landmarks, 1930, 1947, 1953, when 370 came and he was arrested and all that, 1965 then when he was released, then 1989 the watershed movement for Kashmir, when these jihadi elements came up and openly challenged those Hindu population and they had to be pushed out of Kashmir, raped and violated upon. So this thought, the jihadi terror came at that time. Unless we recognize that, Kashmir is no more an issue of isolation, no more an issue of sick economy. If that were so, lakhs of crores were completely appropriated by all these top 5-6 families in the Kashmir Valley, nothing happened. They are under security, they are enjoying the fruits of all the money that came to Kashmir. People are poor. And your talk about going to Pakistan, basically we should be in all the forum in the world, we should isolate Pakistan totally. We cannot go on war all the time, but we can definitely counter any kind of war. If we say that the now situation is better, it is not as worse as when it happened after Lahore. After Lahore, Kargil happened and we paid a heavy price. Now you want to have all these terrorists coming across the border and say, hum to baat karenge. Kisse baat karenge? Nawaz Sharif has no control. Whenever he tries to do something, army takes over. He has no control over terrorists. He has no control over army. So what is he good for? He's a puppet PM. So by talking to somebody who has no hold over any of these institutions, what is the use?
Exactly. When you talk about talking with Pakistan, Dr. John Dayal, do you for a minute recall an Indian called Kulbhushan Jadhav? Do you for a minute recall that at the International Court of Justice, Pakistan was rapped on the knuckles?
It is always a case of backstabbing.
Consular access?
Always provocation.
Do you ever remember an Indian's betrayal?
No, will you allow me?
We have no reason to be good boys.
And millions of Indians.
Let me tell you, John Dayal, I don't want to see. I don't want to be a good boy of the world.
I didn't interrupt you. I am
telling you, let me finish.
I
don't want to be a good man.
Allow me 30
Why are you very upset? Oh, missionary, be quiet.
Allow me 30 seconds.
I am saying.
Allow me 30 seconds.
I am saying.
Allow me 30 seconds.
I am saying
you have
that I don't want to be a good boy of the world. I want to look after my well-being, my strength, my security. For that, I have to be called a bad boy. I'll be a bad boy.
You be a bad boy, but will you allow me to hope that talks
go to Lahore and get the hope done there. Please go to Lahore. Take a tea there and let them call.
What will you tell Dr. John Dayal? Dr. John Dayal, what will you
go to Pakistan, sit with the army and talk to them. Sit with the terrorists, talk to them, bring them to the table. They have the strength.
Dialogue has happened.
You have the courage to go to the terrorists in Pakistan and talk to them. Will you have a tea party with the terrorists? Do you have the courage?
Dr. John Dayal, one minute, gentlemen. Think about it. You think about it. Dr. John Dayal, that India
bring him to table. If you have the courage, bring him to India. Let him be arrested.
India has
is not my man.
Don't talk very kind of things.
I am talk to the government of Pakistan.
Why? What is the use when government is controlled by terrorists? Talk to the terrorists. You cannot talk to a neighbor who has no strength.
Have you de-recognized?
My dear, talk to Hafiz Shaheed.
Pakistan.
Don't be an innocent. Don't tell me you went to 5 seminars and all. I did not criticize your people who went to 5 seminars. I said you made a mistake. But you are again making a mistake by talking to terrorists. Government rather than talking to terrorists.
You are
for dictating terms.
We are not talking to
terrorists. Go to Hafiz Shaheed. Talk to them.
With the Prime Minister.
Please go to Lahore. Sit with them. Go to Islamabad. And come back with an agreement that we will not disturb India. Then I will appreciate you.
Mr. Modi would do a
peace cannot be one-way traffic.
A good thing for Pakistan.
Peace cannot be one-way traffic. That is simple rule of the world. 65. What happened in 65? What happened in 71? India paid the price. Did it get any benefit out of it? 65, we lost all the benefit we had. 71, whatever did we lost on the negotiation table by being the good people. What happened to us? Did Kashmir got solved? Did Kutch get solved? Nothing got solved.
1 minute, gentlemen. 1 minute, gentlemen. Dr. John Dayal. Dr. John Dayal.
That is because Pakistan is afraid.
Yes, ma'am.
That is why there was no nuclear confrontation, not because you didn't have.
On the issue of consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. Have we got anything? No. ICJ.
Will war bring him back? You answer my question. Will war bring him back?
We are only saying whether they
How will you bring him back?
Let them not
What will dialogue
You need not go to war.
What will dialogue
Does anybody go to war in Israel?
How will you bring him back?
Anybody
You tell me.
Nobody
Can possibly bring him back.
Where are you coming from? We are saying there's no room for dialogue. Does that mean that we are going to war?
Dialogue may yet bring him back.
No, but it's not.
There could be an exchange.
Even the International Court of Justice's rap on the knuckle is not making Pakistan admit. Let me get in Ghanshyam Tiwari.
Madam, you look at it this way. A dialogue can lead to an exchange of prisoners.
Dialogue.
We can get that man alive back home into the bosom of his family,
dialogue for the last several centuries. Dr. Sambit Patra wants to come in, but before that, let me go across to Ghanshyam Tiwari. Ghanshyam Tiwari.
Navika, I'll make a quick rebuttal. I'll make a quick rebuttal if you allow me.
Okay, Sambit Patra.
Sorry, Ghanshyam, that I'm eating into your time, but a quick rebuttal over here. It's very essential to state for all those people who are saying that India should love peace, India should love talks and should invite peace into its territory. Let me clarify what is the foreign policy of India. India is the most peaceful country in this whole earth. India's foreign policy is based on peace. The four most important corners as far as the foreign policy vis-a-vis Pakistan is concerned is: number one, we want peace to prevail. Number two, we welcome talks. Number three, and very importantly, talks and terror cannot go hand in hand. If you want talk, then you have to shun terror. Number four, Kashmir issue is a bilateral issue. No one can interfere in the Kashmir issue. Please, Mr. John Dayal, before any peacenik talks about peace, not having a war, remember these 4 points. These are the 4 pillars on which the foreign diplomacy vis-a-vis Pakistan rests. We are the most peaceful nation.
You are not talking, Sambit, you are not talking
let me complete. I did not.
Dr. Patra, you are not talking.
Let me complete. Let me complete, sir. Let's not fight over each other. This is a serious issue. And I just wanted to tell you, there are umpteen number of options between peace and war. Who over here wants a war? No one wants a war over here. No one. India never wants a war.
I'm glad to hear that.
There are umpteen.
I am so glad to hear it.
There are Thank you. I thought you would probably understand the simple things, but the problem is the peaceniks don't understand the simple things that is written so correctly in every wall. You cannot still read that. Has India ever invited a war? India has never gone into a war. India does not believe in war.
Never.
India always believes in peace.
From Nehru
but the
onwards,
issue is, when you have a proxy war, thrust upon India by Pakistan, then there are 1,000 other ways of dealing it, apart from war. That is what India is doing. And I believe this Aman Ki Asha is causing a great deal of damage to that.
Okay, Ghanshyam Tiwari.
Navika, just a moment. These people, opposition party, who are now saying, let us talk,
Ratan Sharda,
they
please.
laughed at
I will have to get in Ghanshyam Tiwari, who hasn't spoken yet.
What?
1 minute. Ghanshyam Tiwari, Akhilesh Yadav, what did he say after Uri attacks? He said India should contemplate taking action on the Indus Water Treaty front. What is your position now? Do you think dialogue with Pakistan, this is the opportune moment for it? Or should even cordiality be something that should be avoided between Nawaz Sharif and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi? And let me tell our viewers that the two leaders have crossed each other at Astana. The Prime Minister Narendra Modi today, he attended a reception and a gala show. That was the beginning of the summit tonight in Astana. Both leaders did not even exchange pleasantries. That's the information that we are getting from Astana. Ghanshyam Tiwari, I'm sure John Dayal.
Well, Navika, thanks finally to Navika. हिंदी में कहते हैं इतिहास भुला के इतिहास दोहरा चुके हैं हम, इसी तरह कई बार खुद को लुटा चुके हैं हम. 15 years back, there was a similar speculation when Prime Minister Vajpayee and President Musharraf were in Kazakhstan for a multilateral summit. June 3 to June 5 was the summit in 2002. And they did not, despite the speculation, they did not meet one another, but they addressed one another through their speeches. And that did lead to a tone down of the standoff between India and Pakistan in 2001-2, which happened after the parliamentary attack, which cost the nation, by the way, more than 20,000 crores. So when you talk about war and peace, we also have to look at the cost of war and peace. As far as this case is concerned, we can go and ask this question whether the Prime Minister snubs Nawaz Sharif, and Pakistan media will ask whether Nawaz Sharif snubs the Prime Minister. But the reality is they have exchanged gifts, they have exchanged they have met each other on birthdays, so clearly they enjoy a warmest of
efforts have been made.
The big question is,
efforts have been made. Ghanshyam Tiwari, who is denying that efforts were made, but where has it taken us?
Consistent Pakistan policy.
But where has it taken us?
Debate after debate and summit after summit to speculate. I am saying when we don't have a consistent Pakistan policy, we will use debate after debate and summit after summit to speculate whether the relationship will be warm.
Ghanshyam Tiwari, when opposition takes over the role of advisor and ridicules the Prime Minister, when Prime Minister goes to Lahore unscheduled and tries to break ice, today is talking of ad hoc policy. That exactly is the way to unsettle the enemy or unsettle the neighbor. You cannot say that a Prime Minister should not give a surprise to the neighbors and see to it that they respond.
I don't think
they responded in the wrong way.
Foreign policy
and
works.
Then these people ridicule Modi because he did all those unscheduled or unpredictable moves which were there like a chessboard moves. He showed the world that whatever you do, these people will not come to terms. That is what Modi illustrated to the world. That is why world today recognizes Pakistan as the epicenter of terror.
What Sambit Patra today said has been our foreign policy forever, that talks and terrorism cannot continue together, and that is our stand. But when the Prime Minister budges from this stand and demonstrate an inconsistent Pak policy, questions have to be asked.
That is the problem. It is not inconsistency, sir. It is the typical way of unsettling the opposition, which you never understood.
Let me answer that.
This is a multilateral summit.
This is a classic way of unsettling the opposition. You never understood that.
It's not important.
You just want to pick holes.
That we should have a consistent policy.
Do you think the BJP government, the BJP government has followed a blow hot, blow cold policy with Pakistan? Suddenly you blow hot, you go across, on your way back, you stop off at Lahore, you meet Nawaz Sharif, you attend family weddings, you wish each other on birthdays, and suddenly you completely cut all ties. So, is there some inconsistency as Ghanshyam Tiwari is pointing out?
Not at all. Rather than calling them inconsistencies, you should see them as a well-intentioned, well-designed effort by the government of India. Whenever a new government comes into power, the first effort of the government is to craft a peace story with Pakistan, because I had already mentioned that India is a peaceful country, never believes in war and never believes that we should shun our neighbors. And that's the reason as to why, going out of the way and with the out-of-box thinking, Mr. Modi even invited Mr. Nawaz Sharif in his swearing-in ceremony, in fact giving him a feather of hope that let's begin a new chapter in peace. And thereafter, to show to the world that, well, yes, we want a new chapter to be carved in, Mr. Modi, in a very different way, even dropped into one of his family events. But what did we get in return? When, after all these gestures, what we got in return was only backstabbing, then Mr. Modi's stand was absolutely clear. I gave you the chance. You did not use the chance to improve your ways. Now is my way. And that was the message not only to Pakistan, but to the global arena as well, that don't question us anymore when we have the surgical strike, because I went out of the way to address the relationship between India and Pakistan. And what did Pakistan give us? Pakistan gave us Uri, Pakistan gave us Pathankot. So now I'm going to have surgical strike. Now I'm going to say my army, don't hold anything back. Just get into the territory and devastate the ones who are perpetrating terrorism. That is what the stand is. You had always questioned why should India be a soft state. Now India is no more a soft state. It is an assertive state. So why? Why today when India is becoming an assertive state? Certain Aman ki Asha wale, certain
just one small question.
I may add,
just one small question.
We must remember that Modi's policies got all other neighbors on board.
Can I ask a small question?
All those neighbors who are very upset with the earlier regime became very good neighbors with Modi's arrival, whether Sri Lanka, whether Nepal, or Bangladesh. It is only Pakistan which has not reconciled to the powerful India. All other neighbors have become wonderful neighbors after Modi's advent. That is the success of foreign policy. So foreign policy can work if there is an environment when the neighbor wants a peace. Neighbor doesn't want peace, then what can you do? You cannot offer a head on the plate.
Okay, can I ask a small question?
John Dayal.
Can I ask a small question?
What's your question, John?
Yeah, my question is, does it mean that you have closed the door on talks? And if so, how do you intend to bring that poor commander back to
Why
India?
do you need to ask that question? Unless
because of the
after every assault,
given by the official
Pakistan foreign minister very bravely says, let India talk to us. Is this the way by putting a gun on the head to have a talk?
Where is there room to talk?
Gun on your head.
Which is why we are saying,
that is what Pakistan does every time.
we are saying Namo snub Sharif. Namo needs to snub Sharif.
The official spokesman has said,
where is there room to talk?
I want to understand if it means a closure on talks.
Let me answer, Mr. John Dayal. Mr. John Dayal, you in the beginning said that subah hone dijiye. Your statement was subah hona chahiye.
Subah kabhi to aayegi is what I said.
बिल्कुल सुबह कभी तो आएगी जॉन दयाल जी पाकिस्तान अगर अपना आतंकवादी वाला चश्मा उतार के देखे तो सुबह तो है इंडिया इज सुबह इंडिया इज द डॉन ऑफ पीस
वो शायर की सुबह है शांति की सुबह है वो कब आएगी हम हिंदुस्तानी बोल रहे हैं
they should open the shades of terrorism and they would see a dawn of peace all around them.
I am an Indian citizen. I don't live in Pakistan.
आतंकवाद का चश्मा उतार के देखे पाकिस्तान
सुबह कभी तो आएगी
सुबह आ चुकी है
सुबह का इंतजार है
Pakistan to recognize it is for Pakistan to recognize that India it is for Pakistan to recognize, gentlemen, that India has offered the hand of friendship, India has offered the line of talks, but it is Pakistan every time who has messed it up, who has never delivered on the deliverables. It is because of Pakistan's problems, because of its export of terror, because of it not actually not delivering on any of the promises, whether it is the 26/11 attack, whether it is Kulbhushan Jadhav, whether it is stopping sending infiltrators and terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir. None of the deliverables have been delivered by Pakistan. At such a moment, yes, Namo snub Sharif is the only option for India. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me here on this big debate on a day when Pakistan Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif and Prime Minister Narendra Modi have crossed each other at the gala and the dinner but haven't